Okay, yes, so here we are, the Holistic Systems Cooperative Community Meeting on Tuesday, October 22nd. Yeah, we're going around and checking in now, and Ishara, we just checked in, and I wasn't recording. That's an issue I have sometimes is knowing when to start that. Yeah, well, since I'm already talking, why don't I go next? Yeah, so my name is Rob, and he, him pronouns. I am currently in Massachusetts, in the United States, and in Western Massachusetts. And yeah, I mean, you know, I'm here because I think for the same reasons that most people find their way here. We kind of all have seem to have a shared vision of how to um, meet our needs in a collaborative and cooperative manner, and like Deborah was saying, how can we, co-create the new world that we would like to see and that we envision, and you know, that works for all people and planet. So, yeah, I'm here, because I'm kind of just obsessed with trying to bring that into the world, as best as I can. Um, Otherwise, yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to. I just joined a gym. I need to like get my physical body, sort of like a little bit stronger, and keep make sure I'm working on like this vessel in addition to just like this work and client work. So sometimes it's hard for me to find that balance. So that's just a little like personal nugget about me. Yeah. Uh, Carlos or Deborah?
Sure. Thanks, Rob. Well, my name is Carlos. I was born in Mexico. My girlfriend lives in Romania, and I am currently in Georgia, the country, Tbilisi, the capital. Um, I joined the HSC because of what Rob shared. I think that shared vision and that like using that prefix of cooperate, co-create, collaborate, like instead of compete against each other. I think there's a better way to move forward. Not only there is a better way, but we need a better way in many different levels. And my heart is in the regenerative space, bringing nature in front and center. Um, yeah, like sharing, growing together, building bridges, and like stepping away from the story of separation, which was linked to what Deborah was sharing earlier in the call. I think it's like that separation in again many different levels, and that's something I love about the regenerative space. I have a lot of experience in sales, relationships, partnerships, and I'm looking for my place in the ecosystem. So I'm right now collaborating with the HSC and super happy to be part of this Alpha group.
Thank you, Carlos. Deborah?
Yes, hi, I'm Karibu Deovar. Nice to have you with us.
Asante.
Welcome. That's all I know. Don't ask me for any more Swahili. That's all I know. Yes, I
Sure.
am. I'm Igbo. I'm from the other side of the continent. So we're from Nigeria, Igbo. And I live now in the United States in Phoenix, Arizona, so close to the West Coast. And yeah, I'm a holistic leadership mentor. So I work with all things leadership development from a holistic lens. And yeah, I'm hoping that I'm able to add some value to this space in terms of what, as Carlos mentioned and Rob mentioned, when we're co-creating, we have to work with other people who are very different from us. And that always, brings up some interesting frictions and challenges. And so I've learned very simple storytelling tools to help people to learn how to work together a little bit easier, with a little more ease, and feel more safe to be more of themselves, whether individually or in a group setting. So that's a lot of what I bring to the space, and very nice, very grateful to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks everybody. Yeah, Sai, I think is going to be jumping in at a certain point. But that's, the only other person that I've heard about. Yeah, there's plenty, to do. I kind of started an agenda checklist. And I think one of the things, right, to name off the bat, because I think that, that's appropriate for, right now, right, is that one of the things that we're doing is just kind of putting the finishing touches and decisions as far as like our meeting schedule. So, the different times and then what those different, purposes will be. And I think it's applicable right now because, one of the pieces there is, starting to come up with um, more of a structure and purpose, for each meeting. Um, and that's not exactly, set right now. And I wasn't, sort of sure who was going to be here. I mean, I have a lot of, kind of, operational, pieces in mind. And I know that it'd be, it's great to actually sort of talk about that with Deborah and with Carlos. But I'm also want to name that for, sort of Ishara because, I think that the idea is that we're going to, as kind of a baseline, we're going to have these community meetings sort of, have more structure and be more sort of like, okay, what, like, not as much operational. Especially if there's like new folks or newer folks, so that way people can kind of have an expectation of that. So, since we're in this kind of like middle ground now, right? I do have, kind of these operational pieces, and that's where my mind is at. But I'm also wanted to maybe it could just be helpful to go around and sort of see what people were thinking about for today's meeting, if they had expectations, if you had agenda items, and if you have any thoughts, that for what we can, what would be, a value and generative for us to do at this meeting, especially, right, given the fact that there's, a person here who's, a newer person. Yeah. I'm taking notes. Anybody have thoughts on that?
I'm like jumping in quickly. Um, I mean, I'm just going to be thinking out loud, but I like the idea of having these community meetings being more of a space of welcoming and maybe like in this case of Ishara that is joining us, like talking a little bit more about what the HSC is, what we're all about, the different ways to collaborate, to be part of this cooperative. Um, and again, just thinking out loud, I don't know if Ishara, if you have any questions about us, like what motivated you to join, like if there's something you want to hear or explore, in the sense of maybe for the beginning of this call, right now, like stepping a little bit away from the operational part and like just connecting and see where we're at right now and see, yeah, like where we're meeting each other. That's what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah, actually, I might be having thousands of questions. You're going to forgive me. Yeah. So just bear with me because the main thing is like I wanted first to understand the HSC, the main idea behind it, if you know what I'm like asking about. So I like the full description because this is a community meeting, and my calendar is telling me that tomorrow at around 6 p.m. Of Ugandan time, there is the operational meeting, right? So I wanted to understand like what is the HSC to briefly introduces it to me because I'm a member of a lot of groups, a lot of communities, both virtually and on ground. I live in a refugee camp, and I always like try my level best to see how I can connect the young people this side to the outside world. Yeah, to link them to there's a lot of opportunities as a counselor that because that is one of my roles as a young change maker and a life coaching in a refugee settlement. So I wanted first to understand like what is the HSC because I'm a member of another group which is called like the Village Co. We haven't launched yet the activities. I don't know if some of you knows about it. It is led by Jason here. So we haven't launched the activities, but it is all about connecting, bringing communities together, teaching them, having session, different kinds of sessions. And on my understanding, HSC, I think it is the same thing. I think, I'm sorry. It is the same thing like connecting communities, bringing people together, sharing ideas, understanding the problems that you're facing and seeing on the way how we can like change them, on the way on how we can transform the community because the world is moving on and also we need to adapt with the system and how the world is going on, is going. So I would like to understand deeply the HSC, but what I've shared is my perspective.
Great. Yeah, great. Well, why don't we just, speak to that? Most of our community meetings, especially the first, whatever, couple years, or something where, most of the community meetings, we were really just sort of a lot of it talking about this and what we were doing and sense making and, kind of co-creating together. That's always fun. So maybe we just, speak to that a little bit, because it might be perfect timing as well, because that we are working on, and specifically Carlos and myself and Saya have been working on, what we're calling this like this info packet, which is the idea of that is basically just to try to relay exactly the information that would answer the question that you have. So I think it's a good time to speak to it. Yeah. So why don't, in fact, Carlos, you feel okay if I share, we do this little preview, maybe I share sort of on the screen, like the actual sort of first draft of the info packet?
Sure, go ahead. Of course,
Okay.
it's work in progress. Spoiler alert.
It's a work in progress. This is the first draft. And I know I looked at it last night. I went through it today and I just barely started making edits. Yeah, but why not? But I'm gonna try, and so I'll put this. Can everybody see the screen?
Yeah,
okay. Great. I'm gonna try and just kind of speak to it, especially in what you said, and then I mean, for me, it's like I think holistic systems cooperative is really about like one particular way to connect communities and to one particular way to approach like the challenges that we're all sort of naming and seeing in the world, which are large challenges, to say the least. So basically, holistic systems is really about to me it's about working like first and foremost kind of in the economic realm, like that's where it sort of starts. I think that there's a lot to it, and the offering is it is as much about like the people and the relationships as it is about what I'm calling like a community economy. But I think for holistic systems, that's where it starts, right? That's like what we're putting together that, I think, is unique and is something that, you know, like a core competency that we're developing. And really, so, the idea there is how can these, how can as communities, you know, pool our resources? How can we help at its essence, holistic systems is about helping each other meet our needs. That's it. So how can we meet our needs in the here and now, in the present time, in while we're still in this system, how can we survive and thrive in this system, while also collectively moving towards, what we want to see, transforming, what we have now into another system. So, I think that's really the core of, to me, and that's how I talk about it, the core of what holistic systems is about. And so then, how we do that is really just, by, facilitating the pooling, sharing, and exchanging of all the value that everybody in a community, brings to the table, right? So it's this idea that the problem, like the problem in our earth, the problem in communities isn't really that there's not enough resources. Like the earth is abundant, even for 8 billion people. It's how we produce and how we distribute, and manage, those resources and how they're allocated in our system. So we're saying, okay, well, let's everybody bring all of our resources and our value. And holistic systems is about doing that in one particular group. So we're saying, okay, like let's take one community and see if we can do that. So that way we can really sort of zero in on the value, and that this community is really more catered to the value that, like, working professionals, independent contractors, entrepreneurs, creators, these kind of folks are bringing. And then we have, there's these particular methods that we have, in order to do that, to create this kind of community economy model. And then within that, right, is we're saying, oh, okay, well, that doesn't actually work. Like, we could create the best sort of like model and the best like app and tools to do that, but unless we have relationships that are built on trust, and unless we have that exchange that's built on, relationships rather than just, transactional, I don't even think it's going to fly. So, at the same time, we're saying, okay, how are we, how are we growing and developing, together? How are we creating, the trust that's going to allow this kind of economy to flourish? And then the last piece, that I'll say, right, is, speaks to something, right, that you were talking about, Ishara, which is the last piece, which is the networked communities, right? So holistic systems is one community, and it has a certain economy in it. But the idea, right, is, and this is where I think that the real, transformative power comes. The idea is, can our community network with other communities, right? And then can we share and exchange value? Can trusted, can people with trusted relationships in a community share in another community that's trusted because it has trusted relationships? So can we start to exchange value? Can we start to, just like look at and match and meet our needs and offerings in these networked communities, right? And then join with other groups, right? That may have other core competencies, or maybe sort of approaching, community economies another way, but can we still, how can we collaborate with them? Yeah, so I went off book. I didn't, read I didn't read the, what I think is coming together as a really nice, sort of info packet. But that's what I have to say. So yeah, I think maybe we just open up the question or open up that discussion to whoever else. And thank you all for listening.
Actually, now I'm getting the clear picture. Yeah, I've got the clear picture already. of the HSC. Actually, it is not far from my expectation because it is just the same. I remember now. I'm remembering the thing which sent me to the website because I was in region pollination and someone hooked up to me the email, the link to join the HSC. So when you spoke about freelancers, professional, and all sorts of things, I'm now understanding the main, the main idea behind it. It is you're going to correct me if I'm wrong. So it is like to bring people, to bring professionals together so that they can access like necessary resources. I don't mean, necessary resources in terms of skills, in terms of networks, in terms of ideas, where professionals can be coming together and debate some of the things and also getting connected to different kinds of gigs, if I'm correct. And based on that, I think I'm in the right group because, because I lead a group of young people who are really passionate about changes. And in Aki Valley, we are having a lot of freelancers, but the problem is that, let me give you just the challenge. Most of our freelancers are using Fiverr, Collaborate, and what is the other app? I forget about it. So, and you find for them accessing gigs or accessing a lot of deals, it is being very hard for them. So I think this is the right place because I'm not joining as me, but I'm joining as my community as well. So I think through the research, and maybe in the coming meetings, I can be like, if you're going to allow, I can be like connecting other freelancers and other professionals to be joining, because this is a very beautiful thing, so that they can be coming also to connect with others, to gain something, ideas, and also getting some opportunities. And also, secondly, it is a very important space for me personally, because when you spoke, I'm going to be talking where you're talking about freelancers, especially because right now our organization is the organization that I lead. I work for the UN Human Rights, but also I am the founder and executive director at a refugee-led organization. It is called the Elite Humanitarian Service Team. So we operate here in Aki Valley, and we are actually more connected with the community than all the other companies that I work with. And we are looking currently for someone. In Uganda, you can't create a GoFundMe. You can't create so you can't fundraise in Uganda. So you need someone to create for you. So in most of the time, we always look for freelancers who are going to create the campaign for us. Then for us, they create for us. Then we share the links with our donors. They donate. Then we give them like we'll call it like sort of a percentage and something like that. And most of the time, we always find it hard to find the freelancers that you're going to be trusting. This is the money deal. So we always find like the challenge finding the people that we can trust. But I believe that through this community, it is going to connect people, and also it can be like bring something like trust. So when someone is inside here and he needs like he needs such kind of favor, so he can trust the person working with, because he knows that we belong to the same community with. For example, Deborah, and Deborah can't do something bad to me, can't blackmail me after raising the funds for us and stuff, because this is the community money, if you know what I'm trying to talk about. So I think I'm in the right group, yeah, right now, and I'm really looking forward to learn more.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. That sounds true to me, like this could be a great group for you and for your community. Yeah, I have, like some things popped in to say, but I want to open like for Carlos or Deborah to yeah, to join the conversation as well. Yeah, thank you, Shara. If you'd like to.
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, I'm super like it always excites me and makes me happy to hear uh, projects like this and like the synchronicities and like even like the like or yeah like just the times we're living like where we are connecting from Massachusetts and Uganda and Georgia and like all over the world in like a Zoom call, like what the hell's going on here? Yeah, I mean it's like it sounds incredible and like I have a couple of thoughts. Like the first one is um in in the space of recipro reciprocity. No, like it's this like I would love to learn from Ugandan culture. You know, like 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 uh like nature's wisdom. You know, like the kind of things that are not easily available for me in my current context. I think there is always a lot of ground to explore and find ways to collaborate and exchange value that in the current economy it's very hard to achieve. You know, like how do we put a price tag to the things we're exchanging if some of the things in the equation are usually not as quote unquote valuable, but are like historically the key of success of our relationship with nature. I think that that is kind of what the regenerative space or why it resonates so strongly with me. So I'm really curious to see and hear how, or figure out actually, how we can collaborate uh, with Shara. And just like a quick side note, I don't know if you have heard about Namal, which is an organization working with refugees and helping them find remote work. I know the founder. I've worked with her. So if it's something you would be interested in, I would be really happy to make a warm intro between you two both, and like just yeah, like see what comes out from there. I think that's something also that can really benefit your community. And yeah, I'll stop there.
Yeah, actually, before I stop there, I'm already interested. I'm already interested to get connected with her because, as I told you, all I need is to connect my community to the outside world, to connect these young people, these young hustlers, yeah, to where they're going to benefit in terms of skills, in any kind of benefit and any kind of support that they can get.
Mhm. I mean, I typed the website in the chat and I sent you a
Yeah.
LinkedIn request. So like take a look at the website, and if it's something that resonates with you, uh, yeah, like let's connect and let me make a warm intro between Lorraine and you. See what comes up.
All right.
I'm gonna put that in our meeting notes, the website. Thank you, Carlos. Reciprocity. Yeah, thanks, Carlos. I know that word is, yeah, it's a big one. Um, Yeah, Deborah, anything coming in? Also, hi, Saya. I just want to welcome Saya to the meeting, and um, yeah, we can we can catch you up in a moment. I also know I see you're probably eating lunch, Deborah, so it's not.
No, no, no. It's what I was gonna say was I actually came hoping for a little bit of an agenda. So meaning I was hoping to actually jump into doing some task in this time that would help me to kind of get a sense of where I can help because I I bring patience and I bring impatience at the same time. I've been a member of a lot of different spaces and projects, and I end up usually after a while just going without having actually feeling like I actually did anything, or it was like a lot of really great conversations, but no real, to me, tangible progress. And so I'm hoping to kind of exit, and that's part of why I was affiliated with the Roots Co-op because I was having the same kind of seeing the same kind of pattern in with Vivero. And so Todd was like, hey, let's do this Roots Co-op thing. I was like, okay, cool. Or sorry, Circle Trust thing. I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. So if there's something that I can help with, I would like to actually take, maybe like hop into a breakout room and actually take a go at it so I can get a feel for things, and then maybe hop back in towards the end of the call. But that was more what I was hoping for was because I think we've done several email rounds now, and I think I feel like I'm at the point where I'm like I don't really know how I'm contributing, but sometimes the best way is to kind of just for me, I'm an experiential learner and guide, so I just dive in and then from there I can say, oh, well, actually this doesn't really work, but this could work, as something I do as an exchange or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, thank you. And I sort of, had a thought that, right, that if jumped in or you and Carlos, I had a thought that's, some of what we could go over. Again, I mean, it's delightful. I'm so glad that Ishara has has dropped in. This is meant to be the community meeting. And Deborah, I think what you're also speaking to is exactly like why starting, next week, we're gonna sort of say, hey, these are the community meetings, even though those we want to have more of a structure too, but these are the community meetings, these are the operations meetings. So that way, if you're like, hey, I just, I want to like dig in on, roles and tasks and operations, I know I'm gonna come to this meeting, and if I, sort of want to work on other stuff or have it, be a little more spacious or connect with folks, I'm gonna come to this meeting. So yeah, I think you know, you're already one week into the future. So that being said, oh, I want to just name this Ishara. Like, yeah. So I created we were going to start that schedule this week, but we're starting it next week. So I created the new calendar, but just to let you know, Ishara, that the operational meeting tomorrow is not, is not actually going to occur. I just needed to delete that. I mean, I guess we could have it if people want to come, but so to address Deborah's uh, question, yeah, I mean, right. There's definitely ways that you can help. I know we've been sort of like talking about that and honing that. I think you and I could go over it, and we could, yeah, it'd be fantastic to have you jump in on something. So I just like you and I could jump into a breakout room if Carlos and Ishara and Saya want to, kind of continue on, and then we'll just jump back in, and you can ever stick around or not. How does that sound to folks?
Sounds cool. I'll just take a minute because my table is super wobbly, so I I need to fix it. But yeah, sounds perfect.
All right. And Saya, how's that
Hi,
sound to you?
everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
Now,
And Saya, yeah, I'd love for you to introduce yourself as well, Saya, and this is Ishara. Um, So yeah, well maybe Deborah and I, sort of hop in a breakout room and we take, 10, 15 minutes and then come back.
Okay, what is our plan for the day?
Well, that's what I mean, the first thing is, because Shara jumped in as a new person. So, we didn't want to kind of just go right into like operations. Um, we wanted to, and so basically we've been talking about like what is HSC, and trying to get across what this is, like what we're doing here, and then really talking with Ishara about like how it can like ways that it, can help him answer some specific questions, and really just been sort of chatting about like, what's going on with him and his community, and what's going on with holistic systems, and so sort of some of these ways where they're connected. So yeah, it's a little bit of I apologize, right? It's a little bit of a sort of we're in between a little bit meeting today. So I don't, I don't know exactly if I answered the question as far as what the plan is. I mean, yeah, we could just, sort of keep things open and spacious for another 15 minutes, and then at 4 p.m. we could just like kind of go into operations. And Ishara, you can kind of hang out and stick around, and then you're going to be able to, to see more of what we're, specifically what we're up to, and and also where we're at. I think it's important to share that. So so Deborah, we could do that for another 15, and then we'll just dig into operations, and then I can, we can concentrate on what you can do. How does that feel better maybe for folks? All right, I'm getting thumbs up. All right. Thanks. Thanks all for rolling with it. So, all right. So why don't we, start that? Beside, would you mind just, introducing yourself and sharing, where you're at in the world, and all of that, and just a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Um, Hi, Ishtara. Nice to meet you. Um, I'm on the East Coast of the US. I'm in Massachusetts, and I do mostly writing and editing for folks for their small businesses, everything from websites to nonfiction books to online course curriculum materials for folks, lots of different things like that. And I'm quite interested and passionate about the ways that we connect and collaborate across all kinds of diversity, and how we make meaning out of what we're doing, and then how we communicate that meaning, to each other and to anyone else who might be interested, who might resonate with what we're up to. Um, yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Thanks, Sai.
Sorry, I'm having a question. It's just out of curiosity. You're going to forgive me. Is it Sai? I think Sai and Deborah, you both live in Massachusetts, right?
I'm in Massachusetts, as well as Saya.
Oh, yeah, it's you and Sai living in Massachusetts. Wow, that's great, because I have some of our main partners live there. Yeah. Actually, some of our main partner organization that we're implementing our storytelling project together, they live, their office, I think it is in Massachusetts. I think, you might know it. It is called the Stone Soup Magazine.
Stone Soup. Interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I know about a Stone Soup Cafe. Are you saying Stone Soup Magazine also?
Yeah, Stone Soup Magazine. It is under the Children's Art Foundation.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
its
Great.
office is just there in Massachusetts.
Cool. That's great.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
But I know, yeah, I know it's the place might be very big, so you can't know everything which is there. It is 100% understandable.
No, that's fine. I'm learning things all the time.
Yeah. No, but
Yeah.
you never know. Yeah, you never know. It could be right next door to me too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, well, let me just sort of share what what feels important and is something that's that we're working in, which is like where are we at? So basically, I think that we've got a good head of steam going now, and moving quickly, and right, we're at this place, and Christine and I were talking about it yesterday, where it feels like we're not quite at this place where we're like where people can just kind of come in and be members and jump, and I think most of that has to do with where the app, and the platform is right now. Um, so, because there's this, yeah, that's a big factor, is like because the app and the platform is what is, sort of logistically facilitating all of that kind of value exchange that we're doing. Um, you know, hopefully that's gonna be here soon. So, but I do, kind of, it seems like, it's clear that like where we're at least for this moment, for the next, certainly probably for the next 3 weeks, and who knows? We're not talking months, we're talking, but I mean, maybe we're talking like weeks, or the end of the year or something. But where we're at right now, it feels like is sort of like builders, so, and that's what's been a blessing about like Carlos and Deborah coming in, um, is that the people who are coming in now are still kind of helping to like build what this thing is. And we're not starting from like the foundations, if this was a house, maybe we like all the walls are up and the rooms are there, but like we're still setting up the plumbing, and finishing up the electricity and probably putting in the windows. Um, like it's not quite ready for somebody to like live in yet. That might be a good analogy. Um, and so, I think it's helpful to just name, that's where we are. And then, soon enough, we can be like, hey, okay, the house is livable. So now folks come on in and grab a bed and, put food in the fridge and let's do it. So yeah, that I just wanted to kind of get that across because I think it's helpful. So anybody is we're still open for people to come and to help out, but we're in that kind of phase right now. So that's where people should have an expectation. Yeah. Um, yeah. So I'll leave it there. Yeah. Any Shara, any other sort of questions or thoughts that we could help answer?
Uh, right now, I'm not having any further question. I'm not having any question right now.
All right. Yeah, great. Um, yeah, anything else, as far as like, Deborah, Carlos, or Saya, sort of any, thoughts that you might want to, share with Ishara, sort of about where we're at right now with HSC, what the hopes are for the next, 2 or 3 months. That might be interesting to hear.
I mean, I really like the analogy of the house. I think it's like transparent and very clear as to where we are right now. Like we're finishing steps to um I don't know, host an open house party. Like it's getting there, and also like the expectations are clear about that we are people who are joining right now are also building or helping build the last like the finishing touches of the house. So I really like the analogy, and yeah, I'm excited to see how this plays out.
Thank you. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I'm glad that I know it's that came through. I think yeah, that's probably a helpful helpful analogy as well. And right, like some of it is is a little bit of a readjustment. Right, Todd, who's the sort of primary technologist, had his timeline, with his new baby got moved up, so but I feel confident that I'm going to be able to not do everything in the app, but like the first, um, maybe that's a kind of a transition to, more operations, but, is to share that, from the app standpoint, the hope is to, sort of get as soon as possible, get at least like the member profiles, that functionality ready. So that way somebody can onboard and they can have that onboarding form, where the sort of first set of information, um, your name, your challenges, your skill sets, what you're interested in, all that sort of first stuff, to have that like as soon as possible, so people can at least start building their member profiles, and we can access the member directory, and then following along right after that is the needs and offerings list. So that way people can put in their first needs and offerings, and we can start to connect it at that level. So I feel pretty confident in being able to sort of set those up, at at least a baseline way where they're usable, and then then the idea is after that, the tokens, right? So have those value contributions, and being able to start you know plugging those in, right? And so having folks starting to use those tokens, and at least have those on the group log. So depends how much time I can carve out to do that, but all that seems from what I've set up so far pretty doable within my capabilities. And then from there you get to like vouchers, you get to token conversions into voucher credits, and that starts to get more complex. So I'm not sure about that, but that's sort of where we're at with the app. Where we're at with onboarding. Yeah. So I can give a brief rundown about where we're at with the onboarding process if people would like that. Okay. Yeah, and so this is a place where Carlos can, I'm just going to share my screen. This is a place where Carlos has been helping out a lot, right? So Carlos has already, been able to jump in. Whoa, that wasn't what I was trying to do. Carlos has already been able to jump in, and start to help. So really what we're trying to do is, we've kind of planned out really what, these first sort of two sections of what like a new member flow would look like, right? So, so outreach is really like, where, kind of like where Ishara is today, right? So he kind of found us on the web, right? Learned about HSC, is kind of attending a meeting, and then, might, if it's still interested, might fill out kind of this initial inquiry form, and then we have like an intro chat. So, and at that point, this is a big piece that we've been working on, is just like this info packet. So that way, when Ishara asks, what is HSC about? Hey, we've been able to tell him share at the meeting, which is like super valuable. But, if he wants to pass, something along to someone else, or we're just emailing with somebody. We send them this info packet. This is what it's about. It's also the info that we're going to add to the website. So this has been like number one, and we're doing great work on that. And then, number two is really like the kind of the new member packet, which is basically somebody says, "Hey, I want to become a member," right? And we're not, again, we're sort of still building the house. So this is not, there's no plumbing here. But this is just kind of the flow, the idea of it now. So, they want to become a member. They're going to fill out the initial form. That's going to create their member profile. They're going to have an onboarding meeting. They're going to, and then here's where we're going to start to get into like, roles and tasks. But the idea is that we want everybody who's coming in as a new member to get like a guide, to like a buddy. So that way people, don't get, kind of don't get lost, right? So there's somebody who's, in contact with them, right? So that's something that the folks who are here now, right? That's one thing that, we can all start to think about whether we, want to do that. Because that's really going to be helpful. And it can't just be one, like I can't be everybody's buddy. As much as I'd like to. Right. And then, we go along and this is sort of, what we've been talking about, we can sort of make more, formal proposals. But what we've been talking about is basically like, there's like kind of this first month where somebody's kind of a provisional member, right? And so we say, and that's that time where they're getting introduced to things where maybe we don't worry about like signing them up for the monthly, deposit, where they're, completing the first kind of checklist items, where they're meeting other people in the community. And then, after a month, they say, it's like everybody's like, "Hey, is this a good match?" Okay, then they're a full active member. So the other piece that, been working on, right, is like what is the programming? So, Carlos has been doing a great job with Christine as far as like kind of setting this up. So what is the, like what is our meeting schedule? So that's what we've been working on. This is a draft, so just note that. But what is the meeting schedule? What are the first workshops that we want to start to have? What's realistic now for the amount of people who are here, and then what are we thinking over the, as people grow, then what do we want to grow into, and also like what is the community, what are the structures, so for the next community meeting, what are we doing? That's kind of the main thing here. And then yeah, maybe I'll stop there. I can start talking about more like specific questions for folks today, and then specific like roles and tasks. But I want to stop there because I want to see, Carlos, if you have anything, have anything more to share in regards to this whole process that's being built out.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, I mean, I would say that in my perspective, from what I've done so far, my aim is to guide the new member, like Ishara, like you joined our community meeting today. Like, what information can we give you that will both not overwhelm you, because in the end we're shifting systems here, like it's finding a new economic model, and like it's a quite complex in some ways, or at the very least it's a new way to approach work in value exchange, and like an economic system as a whole. So like, what is the minimum amount of information that we can give you in a staggered, like in layered manner, that will not overwhelm you, but at the same time give you enough information to say, okay, this is something I want to hear more of. So yeah, I mean, it's work in progress, and as Rob said, it like we're still building the plumbing in some rooms, and it's still and like also like the sessions like these are super valuable to figure out, Ishara, you had the question like, what is HSC? And like, also Deborah had a question like, what is the agenda? Like having this kind of feedback and these kind of questions help us understand what is important to share, and like what is the structure that we could aim for at different types of meetings to give you this like minimum viable information for you to yeah, like new members to engage with the community, and find value, and decide if it's something uh, um, aligned with their own life's journey and purpose. So yeah, like it's and as I said before, we're still in doing the finishing touches of the house, and yeah, like it's coming to completion soon, but still some parts are missing, and it may look a little bit chaotic, but it's like I trust it will be pretty clear for everyone joining. Yeah, like it will be pretty clear soon. We'll be able to explain it in a super easy way to digest.
Mm. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Carlos. Yeah, yeah. Really, yeah, well said there. And I think, yeah, I think it's been amazingly helpful, to have Carlos jump in, right? To be this, to turn, what like is as far as like all the writing that, I was doing, just the essential writing, to turn that from like 19 pages into like two pages, Um, right. Right. So well, we've all been writing, in the 19-page document. Yeah, but to turn that into, right, how many, or well, we might cut some of this, but yeah, 2 or 3 pages, just having something that really breaks it down, and having, sort of fresh eyes for that. Um, my thought is, unless there's any, comments on any of that, or any other thoughts, my thought is to kind of jump into like what we're talking about with operations, where we're at, and what's available, and maybe to um, kind of use as an example and speak to like specifically Deborah, so that way we're talking about kind of the things that I would go over generally, but in this way, it's using this example of Deborah, and this practical way of saying, hey, here's somebody who wants to jump in and build, like where, do we hand Deborah a hammer, or saw, or and then what, send her to the, the electrical outlet or whatever. Trying to use these things for the plumbing. So how's that sound? Cool. Yeah. And Ishara, thanks for, sort of rolling with us, in what we're doing here. And I think you're also getting a good idea of where we're at. So, all right. So I'm going to share my screen, and let me bring in this, because what we're trying to do is, oh, sorry. Yeah. So what we're trying to do is, more and more get clear on like what are the tasks that need to be done, right? So if we feel fairly clear on where it is that we want to go, which I think we do, so that's big. So if we feel fairly clear on that, then where we're at is like, okay, how are we getting there? And so what we've been trying to do is get, more and more clear on, okay, what are the tasks first? And, we've done that. I'm going to, am I still recording? Oh, here. I'm gonna pause.
Well, like organized yet.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds okay. I'm actually pretty good at like saying, hey, like if you want, this is a task you can do. Um, yeah, I'm pretty good at like project management, which is sort of saying, hey, these are the tasks, that like to fulfill our shared goal. These are the tasks, that need to be done. and then to say, hey, could somebody do this? So I mean, what I'm hearing from you is that you're open, you have a lot of like openness and flexibility around that. So that's fantastic. Um, yeah.
I, I
So
have
so
an
I
impulse
yeah.
and excitement to throw in here. I just see what I understand, Deborah, as I'm hearing you more these past 2 weeks, is that you have a lot to bring in terms of culture building. Um, and I'm
Mm,
wondering if you'd be willing to look over these draft documents around community agreements um, and core values. And I know you're new to HSC, but you're becoming a part of what we're doing. And these are documents that they're in development. And so if that's of interest to you, I would love that.
mm,
Yes, and thank you. Thank you for saying that, Saya. And I spoke with Christine about this last week. Um, I have a little bit of hesitance towards predefining a ton of things because what I find is everything is emerging, evolving, and being discovered or being created in the process. And so the more that I go and I try to like nail down this is what it is, the more it like doesn't leave the freedom for expansion. So I'm training myself because I can be very logical and analytical. I'm training myself not to think like that anymore. I used to have exercises where I had my clients actually list their core values, and then we went through them, and it was like this whole process of discovery, but it was them. So let's say that we have a group of like 50 people. I think a really cool exercise could be to have a core values group of maybe 10 people come together and say, yeah, this is what we feel the core values are now that we know what HSC is kind of about and we're in the mix. But if I start ahead of time telling people I can tell people what my core values are, no problem. But if I start saying like this is what the group's core values are before the group has really gotten to know itself, I feel like that's jumping the gun. That's just me, Deborah. So I'm not as good with that, like, because I'm training myself to move away from defining ahead of time and more allowing for things to emerge as a group, as the group emerges. But let's say I had, and that's what I was trying to tell Rob, let's say I had the founding time for HSC and I understood the essence of HSC as its own entity, apart from Rob, Deborah, Christine, Carlos, Saya, anybody, but it's just as its own essence, like what it's here to achieve and accomplish. That can start, then our individual core values can start to inform that greater mission or function. But that is a process that I never do by myself. It's always something I do in co-creation with the others in the organization. So I was kind of throwing out some different things because what I do know, we lost somebody. Okay. What I do understand is that if I come in and I go outside of the alignment of the way that my process flows, it doesn't serve anyone. And I'm not flexible there. So some things I can be really flexible with, but the way that I think and the way that I organize things is very radical, but it is not flexible. So it's kind of like either it works with what y'all are doing or it doesn't. And it feels to me like it doesn't in this particular case, because there's a very kind of organized way that you all have set up the onboarding documents and the culture stuff. And if it's like, hey, Deborah, we want you to just like do a spell check or make sure that the grammar makes sense or make it look pretty on a page, no problem. But the process of coming to those core values, I believe my process feels quite different from what you all have already engaged in. So I don't want to interrupt your flow as to how you are developing them, because I feel like that's something where I would approach it, differently. Does that make sense?
mm,
Yeah, I get it. I mean, one of the words we've sat with so much is emergence, and that this will continue to emerge. That said, almost a year ago, we started this whole process as a group, as it was at the time, pulling together, ideas about what is our vision, mission, and purpose, and what are the core values. And so we're actually pretty far into being a group and doing some of that. And we're just finding the best ways to articulate and clarify so that it can make some sense to new folks as they consider participating. And then as we all participate, it continues becoming. So I'm like really on a page with you for the most part. I hear that.
Yeah. Yeah. And if that wasn't, uh, just to name, right, like if that wasn't clear, right, like everything I think that's here now, the values and I think everything, has been developed by the group, I think, it started like a seed idea, but that's what, so much, like so many of these meetings, over the last however long, couple years, right, is like developing, like all of this as like what we are now kind of has come from, I feel like come from the group. And it's different, right? Like it's not a group of 50 people, but it's come from the group that was here, the sort of, and whoever was sort of circulating around. So that's, that is what's here. Right. But you might feel like, oh, I'm coming in and, like I haven't, like,
Well,
where does your input, sit now? Right. Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm okay. How about this? I'm happy to take a look at it. I just don't know how much good it'll be because of the way I think about developing core values. It's like we take a snapshot once and then we'll come back to it later. But it's like, that's why I said, like, for an individual or for an entity, I think it makes sense. But when you have people kind of coming and going and everyone's kind of bringing in their flavor, I don't have anything to really like weigh it with to say,
Mm.
oh yeah, this is a great articulation of what I know to be the essence of HSC. I don't really have that. So it's not, for me, it's not really, I don't know, like I won't really have much comment.
I totally
I'll
get it.
just,
And that's
yeah.
totally fine. I think my excitement comes from also hearing that you want to do something. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. Let's figure out what that's going to be. So,
I actually I have an idea. Like from my experience, and I totally resonate with what you shared, Deborah. Like I like that one of the first tasks I took on was summarizing like a lot of pages of content into what a new member should read. Like my first thing was like who am I to say what's to read? Like there's so many valuable things and phrases in here. And I also think that the essence of a group is that the sum of its parts is greater. The more people joining the group, the richer it becomes. And what I'm thinking is there is a document with probably almost 10 pages right now, like down from 25 to 10 pages. Um, it could be like, if you're interested, it could be a great place to start. Like it's like a walk through all things HSC. And if we can get that back down to 2 or 3 pages, as Rob shared earlier, that would be a great place to be. So like it's not really adding anything, it's just editing, which is
Okay.
kind of different. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Like that could be a good place.
Yeah, thank you. And Deborah, yeah, thank you. I appreciate like your process, and I get it, like where you're, yeah, like how these things are developed, and then where you're coming in now. So totally get that. Yeah, and maybe that's not like I think Carlos, brought in a great point and a great idea, and also like if working with that material, there doesn't feel like that's your task now. Plenty, plenty of other things.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm open. So yeah, we can start with that. I'm perfectly happy to start with that.
Yeah. And I think that maybe for, as far as an action step, is like, I just like I would just like to look over the tasks. Like sort of given what we talked about, I'd like to kind of just look over everything and then, then I can come with kind of a list that at least meets, sort of requirements on I think on our part, which is like, oh yeah, these are things that, need to be done. And then get with you and then we can, find like the right intersection.
Okay. Yeah, the other thing the one thing I did since I could volunteer because it seems like that's going to be an ongoing thing is facilitation. So if you have like a paragraph that describes for each of the meetings kind of what your objectives are, one for the community meeting and one for the um, operations meeting, then I'm happy to get on like a roster where if we're like rotating who's facilitating, um, I'm happy to get on and kind of, yeah, you'll see. I have a very I do a lot of different types of facilitation and they're all kind of, you know, have their own flavor. But I don't mind like once a month, volunteering for a facilitator position, role to help out with the workload. So it's not too much on any one person.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, that's fantastic. And I think that where we're at, I know it's just this like it's this we're this builder thing, right? Where we're at is like also, and I wrote down, I'm like, do we have a task for this? I think this is I know Carlos and Christine have been on it, but like we're at the creation place, of like, well, what is the meeting structures? So
I think someone needs to call it and then we can look at it and agree or disagree. But I think it may be a little bit faster to actually have someone just say, okay, this is where we're starting. Then you can redline it or edit it or add to it if you like, but we have something to start with because most of us are responders. I would say that's 70 to 90% of the human population, we do best in response to something. So if we're like, okay, somebody wrote out a paragraph, then we're like, oh no. But if we ask the same people, like, okay, what do you think it is? They're like, I don't know. What do you think it is? I don't know. What do you think it is? So we will go around in circles. But if you have something that people can react to, I think it'll go faster and more like it'll just be like, oh, and it may look nothing like you originally started, but you started. And so then something, came from that.
yeah, yeah. Great. Yeah, that's such a great point, right about the responders. And so maybe we have, maybe we already have like the people who are doing it. Because I know right now, like Carlos and Christine and I have been in discussion. Right. And we all have like these opinions, right? So that's probably where we have three people who are already doing that task, And so maybe that's something to make it clear, right? Because Christine's like, oh, I think it should be this. And I'm like, oh, no, well, it needs to be this. And Carlos is like, oh, it's got to be this, right? So yeah, maybe the creators. And then, so that's good.
I mean, and
Um,
maybe that's a general process suggestion is that if you identify something that needs to be done, somebody takes stewardship of it, puts out a really ugly first draft, and then it can circulate and get commented on. And then there's one meeting to discuss all the changes or ideas and consolidate if there's any issue, like so that it saves a lot of back and forth on everything. Because I feel like that can be energetically kind of tiring if you're doing a lot of back and forth on everything. But if you have like, we'll just start this, everyone, when you finish, you do your initials. We used to do this in engineering all the time. There's a document and then you check through it and then you put your initials and you pass it on to the next person and they put their initials and so by the end of the day, the document has circulated, then all the comments are collated. Some of them are like really obvious, yes, it was a typo or whatever, and we just fix it immediately. But then there's just like one list to go through and crank through in one meeting to get those comments consolidated into one thing. And it's so much more efficient because now everyone's just looking at the document once and then having the discussion once and then it's done pretty much. There may be another iteration or two, but then at least that's your starting point. Then you can come back to it in 3 months and say, okay, now what's changed? But you see, the process gets streamlined, it's not so ongoing. So you can be like, okay, that's off our table for now. We can come back to it in a few months or whatever. But for right now, we can take it off the list of things to do. And now we can actually get our to-do list down, whittled down to being just a couple of items or none. And then we can go back and do another sweep of everything. That is how I found to be able to manage things that are very malleable and dynamic and flexible and always moving. I have found that it's just always been easier for me to do snapshots at moments in time, like every 3 months or every 6 months or whatever, as opposed to just having this thing where everything becomes a dialogue that takes a lot of energy. So maybe I'm happy to put that, if you want me to write that somewhere as a process suggestion of how you can maybe streamline some of this stuff so that it becomes less weight on the people who may not have a ton of time but want to contribute something.
Hmm. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's great. And I think that's actually something we've been learning. Um, yeah, and is right is sort of that's yeah, like in that sense, we're saying, okay, these are like our current snapshot, core values. And it doesn't mean that like, 4 months from now, or with 50 people from now that we might not look at them and then, say, oh, we need to make adjustments. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's a great process. And if that's something, that then also speaks to, right. So I have something now to like bring to the group, that I want to get kind of like last, like final notes on and agreements before we decide. And then that's just how we do it for now. But it also speaks to governance, right? And so this is a whole role. We've started on this, but like right now, our governance process is just is pretty open, right? It works because we have a small enough amount of people. It's not going to work forever, but basically, I'm saying like what I want to just sort of make last check-ins on is the meeting schedules, right? And so I do want to ask that. So this is, and then it's like people here are going to say, hey, yeah, give their opinions, and then we're going to decide because it's time to do that. So that might be a good example, but I would love to bring that in like now if that works.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure. Any other comments about what we were talking about?
No. Not
Okay. So we've mostly covered this. I just wanted to specifically I wanted to check in with Carlos about this, but I think Deborah and Sai, I think like this is the right group of people to do the final checks on this before we just decide and this is how it is, right? Is the meeting schedule. And so what I really want to check on is as far as like thoughts on how we're scheduling out like programs, right? And do we think this works for now? I mean, so this allows for if we have the meeting schedules, at this, so it's like 2 a week, right? We have our operations, we have community meetings. My thought is that like for the amount of people that we have now and in the near future, if we want to schedule something special out, like if we want to schedule a skill share or if there's an event or a workshop, we could just say, hey, instead of having the community meeting on the 13th, we're going to have, we're going to have this witnessing circle here. And so that is something that we could do, right? And if there's a certain number of, there's a certain, sort of number of people who are coming to the meetings, we're saying, okay, well, we'll probably get, like a sufficient number of people. The other thing that we can do is if, as we grow, we're saying, hey, we've got more people that are coming and more people that are interested, we can always schedule other times. We can say, hey, this Friday we're going to have, a witnessing circle, or this Friday we're going to, have, there's an event that somebody else is going to do. So how does that sound to your minds, especially your minds as minds that are, sort of do think about, like what is our process going to be of community events and all that?
Sounds good to me.
Me too. Like like whenever as a person as personal context, I am 2 months in Romania, 2 months outside of Romania. The 2 months that I am outside of Romania, I can attend both meetings, no problem. When I'm in Romania, the one that is 5 p.m. Eastern time, it's outside of my possibilities. But yeah, sounds great. It sounds like a fair time zone for general worldwide people.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I guess we'll have to, if we're saying we're a worldwide group, which I think we already are, yeah, then I guess that's something I hadn't really thought about, right? But that's something that we have to consider when sort of thinking about events. Do we run the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
event twice, or do we just run it once at a time, a certain time and then, yeah. But yeah, but I just wanted to sort of double check, because again, like I do think that, this is one of those things where yay for us, we've kind of done it in this manner of like we're saying, okay, we've got this group that's kind of trying to figure out the schedule. We've since made it with the group, and now we're saying, okay, when we enact this,
Actually, I have a thought,
it's yeah,
which may be helpful, may not, but I'll just put it out there. So you have governance, you have community economy, and then you have the member experience. And so what I'm thinking is like, and I don't know if you all have already done this, but the way my mind works is I go to a questionnaire and I'm like, okay, for the people here now, forget about who's coming. For the people here now, why are you here? Condense it down to a couple of sentences, like actually write it out. Why are you here? What are you hoping to, be, do, have from being a part of this, experiment, whatever group, cooperative? And then what would be those highlights for you? For the people here that are here now, so we get because what will happen is we'll probably see some common threads across the board, and maybe you did this a year ago or 6 months ago or 2 years ago, but it probably will be different right now. Like again, like taking a snapshot, and then take that as your like use that to do your own what's the word I'm looking for? Not editing, but like auditing of your process, your onboarding process and what you're trying to do. Because then when you have that piece, then when people are coming in and adding in their own, again, it's the same thing of having that like skeletal structure. So that's what I was thinking of. I've been trying to think of like, as someone comes in, how can you make it as easy as possible for them to contribute? And if you give me a document with 10 points, like Carlos just said, give me a 10-page document, I'll go through and I'll, like, let's say that was my onboarding packet. I would come in and I'd be like, oh, and then at the end you could say like, okay, what would you add or what would you take out or, what would you change? Then I'm commenting on something that's there. There will always be some people, about 10% of the population, that will not want to comment on what's there and want to just tell you how they see it. And that's fine too. But most people will do better when they're reacting or responding to something than they will if you're just asking them out of the blue for them to just structure this whole thing. However, for the people who've already been part of this process for a while, you do know why you want. Even I know what I want and why I'm here, or even if it's not super clear, I do have a fuzzy idea of why I'm here, what I want to be, do, and have from being a part of this collective, and what would be ideal for me. I know what that is. I can put that down and write that pretty quickly. And then if you see the 7 or 8 of the responses that you get, and use that as a common like putting them into buckets. And I'm happy to do that. It doesn't take long. It doesn't take long to do
yeah.
a
Well,
survey,
we have
and it doesn't
just
take long to do that.
yeah, just to name like we have that.
Oh yeah, yeah, I remember seeing that.
Yeah. So I love the idea. I mean, I think I'm like we need to do that. That's one of these things that came in is like especially for something like this, it's like, my gosh, we have to, like find out from people, when they come in, like, what do they actually want from this, because, so yeah, so basically what we're sort of like, you know, we're Christine and I are talking about it. I mean, if you wanted to,
Cool.
sort of, if you would like to jump in on this and sort of like, I kind of made, my first version of it,
Uh-huh.
and then Christine has some thoughts on it. So now we have to like bang out like what is the actual version we're giving people. So that's where we're at. You know,
Mm.
if you'd
Uh-huh.
like to, sort of come in and give your thoughts on it as well. I think it's just we're just finishing up being like, what are the questions? How many is too many? You know, so Christine and I are, yeah, we're just kind of but that might be something that you might want to come in as a creator of rather than just a responder to. That makes sense.
Right. So if you did that now, once you decide on those questions and then just made the questionnaire and had everybody in 1 week fill it out for ourselves now that we're here, and then you put things into buckets and then see, oh, okay, these are like the main things that are similar. Maybe they're just like kind of groups together. Then that
Yeah.
becomes your way of checking to say, oh, our current list of core values, or is our onboarding packet, is our process flow addressing the things that we said we're here for? It's like a backup. And if they are, then feel confident to keep moving forward and bringing it to, yeah, like I said, I'm a big fan of snapshots because the work I
Yeah.
do is so intangible and it's so watery and it's so, like always shifting and moving, that if we don't take a snapshot, people are like, what did I pay this lady for anyway? What did she do with me? I don't understand. But then when they look back at what they were writing and saying 3 months prior, they're like, oh, yeah, I have come a long way. But they don't see it when they're in it. So
Yeah.
the snapshots help to take a quick picture, then move on to the next thing, knowing we can come back to it later. So it's more of like an iterative process rather than a ongoing process. It's like we go, we stop, we record, we move forward, and then we come back and then we take another picture, then we record that and we move forward. But we're not always doing it. It has like a quick start and stop, quick start and stop, so that we can feel like we're making some sort of progress, even if we know we're going to circle back to it.
Sounds great. Well, that could be already a task, like, because there's two tasks in there. One is like to finish whatever this current version is of that survey and sort of to decide, okay, we're happy with this. And then of course the second is actually to get that out to the people who are here now, right? And like facilitate that and get the results, right? And it's not up on the app yet. We don't have forms, so somebody has to create the form. It has to be boop. So yeah, that's fabulous.
I mean,
Um,
if you send me your document, I'm happy to put it into a Google form and send it out. It already collects everything in a spreadsheet, so that's already done, and then categorize or group together the responses to see what they are and create like a separate linear map to then compare to what you have in your Miro board right now for your onboarding process or for your
yeah,
goals, and see how it matches up. So I can just give that to you. It's actually probably better for me to do it because I'm not so close to it. I don't know nothing about it. So if I do it, it really is more objective, and then you can compare it to what you all have been doing and see what the difference is.
yeah, yeah. Let's do it. I think to me, those are like the most important questions as far as like the group coming in. I mean, I know it's like very important to have all the member profile stuff so people can, but like sometimes I love it. I'm always surprised, with people, right? Because I have my things, right? I have my bias, so I'm like, well, everybody's coming in because they want to like, get new clients and find work and work on their professional skills. And then people are like, I'm interested in health and wellness and I just want support, not to, and I'm like, oh, okay. Fascinating. But that's what we want to do. We want to like, this is our thing. We want to make it work for the people who are here. Okay, beautiful. So I know I mean, I don't have, a time push at the end of this, but I know we're at, it's like 2 hours, right? So I do think it's reasonable to try and, start to wind up. Yeah. So I want to, um, oh yeah, Sai, I know you're on a phone call. I think we're fine on the meeting schedule thing. I think we've got Tuesday from our Eastern time perspective, Tuesday evenings and Wednesday mornings. Um, yeah. So I actually did make a little bit of an agenda before the meeting or notes that I wanted to cover. And for the most part, except I have like a, sort of a more personal question for Carlos, not like about his personal life, but about, like I'm personally interested in
Shoot.
something. But
Shoot.
but other than that, I think in one way or another covered, sort of the big things. So I guess I'd like to just before we do checkouts, I'd like to, open it up and sort of see if anybody else has any kind of, even if we just notate it down, and don't dig into it, if anybody else has any other like, just questions, whether it's operational questions or agenda items or things, or thoughts. Um, Again, even if we just notate them down, I'd love to open up for that. I see a hand, Carlos.
Yes, three quick notes. The first
Great.
one is that like I ran a team, like a global team. I was in Mexico. One manager was in Europe, in Romania, and another manager was in the Philippines. And my conclusion, because we need to have like a weekly meeting, sales meeting. My conclusion is, at some point, one person will suffer the time zone. Like we were doing rolling meetings. Like one week you'll suffer, then it's me, then it's like that's my conclusion. But like it's yeah, that's how it works. Um, However, something that Deborah mentioned that was for me really valuable. It's if we default to async communication and we have a predefined agenda for the meeting. In my like speaking for myself, if there is a meeting where there is a topic in the agenda that I really want to be part of, doesn't matter if it's 4 a.m., I will wake up and take the call. Like I can collaborate and contribute to the document like async, and then join the meeting if it's needed. Like it's not desirable, but I will do it if it's needed. So like that was a thing that came up for me.
Mm.
And last, I have a message from Isharas. He had to leave because he had another meeting, but he was really happy to meet us and looking forward to join another call soon.
Yeah, I'm just making note of that. That's why. And great. Thank you. That's really, yeah, that is what I would call experiential capital. That's really great. Yeah, thank you for sharing about the team. Those are really good points. Can you do you I didn't actually get a like a spelling of Isara's name or an email. So if you have any of those, that would be great. Um, cool. Thank you, Carlos.
Sure.
Yeah.
You're very welcome.
Um, any notes or agenda items or questions, not just regular checkout, Deborah or Saya?
Actually, there's one thing, if you could just send me that list of the questions,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess who to send them to, those two things, then I can put that together, send it out.
Yeah. And so do you want to be, because that list is not like, we don't have a final decision between like right now the two people who are writing up the list.
Oh, okay. You want, yeah, whenever you're done with it, just send it to me and who you want me to send it to, and I'll take care of it.
Okay. Is that something where you would like to sort of weigh in on what we have, or you're just okay?
Yeah.
All right. And who it's sent to. All right, I'm putting that in my little Task notes. All right, that sounds good. Thank you. Saya, my dear.
Yeah, I have a curiosity about some of this material that we're developing collaboratively and how and when we call it done, or we call it done for now, and we put it to the side and we do the next thing. And I don't need it answered now unless there's already been a decision that I missed. I would appreciate it. Um, and that comes up for me both in terms of like who's here today on any given day and the decisions we make on that day, but also the ways that we are reaching out to members who are maybe less active right now in terms of meetings and tasks, but may want to weigh in and continue to participate. Do we give them a deadline? Do we say, okay, they're not weighing in, so maybe they're fine with it by default? So again, maybe not to answer in the moment, but bigger collaborative questions.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. And I want to say that also speaks to like a to-do, right, sociocratic deadline, right? I think you must have, I was just thinking, because I was saying that I think that speaks to a larger to-do item, which is like, the next step of setting up our governance, right? Which is a way to, sort of formalize and streamline, these decisions and put things out to the group, to say, hey, this is the proposal. This is like the last thing. Anybody have anything else? Yeah. So when will we know when we're done? That's an essentialism question. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Sociocratic equals oh, here, there's stuff in the chat. Make sure to get that before the chat closes. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, this has been great. Thank you. And I think that the plan is to next week, at least have a start of a idea of, like the structures.
Cool. I know that I'm not available to facilitate next week. I'll be again like popping in and out a little bit, but is there anyone lined up to facilitate or create that agenda for next week? Or
Um,
anyone here who's ready to go?
yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm kind of the default, meaning I'm like the meeting facilitator role holder, which means that, so yeah, there's somebody, but I think I think what I'll do is, my thought, right, is just to create in Asana the meeting, calendar, and then I can just send out, right, everybody, here is in Asana, so then I can just sort of send out theirs, or to the folks here and say, hey, okay, here's the calendar. Folks who would like to do this, then, just start picking your times.
Great.
And I think it's fun. I like that have like maybe somebody takes over that role at some point, but right now, like that is a role. It's like meeting, meeting facilitator role, right? And so I'm holding that role, which means that like if nobody is signed up, then we know I'm doing it. That's, I think, how these roles work well.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you all. Oh, well, yeah, maybe we could do checkouts, but yeah, I mean, I was already starting anyway, so I just want to say, yeah, check out, just like thank you, yeah, to the folks here. It's just I'm excited, and maybe said this last week or whatever, but it's just like we're really, we're doing stuff, and look, like we've got 4 people here, and we're not talking about doing stuff. We're doing stuff, and so it's yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it's really great, and I'm really appreciating, the builders, you know, and the house, and I'm looking forward to the housewarming party whenever that, happens. So that's my checkout.
I love that. Carlos, is someone going to send me the link to the document you wanted me to review, the 10-page document? I forgot to ask
Right.
about that.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
We'll do right now.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna go try to do a little bit of a, I don't know, we'll see, but a mental health check because I'm feeling the sucker punch of the earlier activities of today before I came on this call. It's like it's been growing in the pit of my stomach since I've been here. I've been feeling sicker and sicker. So I'm gonna just take care of that. Thank you. I'm gonna copy that down. But in regards to this, it feels good to know that getting a little bit of clarity on some things that I can get started doing while things are still kind of watery and unclear, which is perfectly fine. I totally understand. Also feel good to distinguish between like wanting to help and then also knowing where maybe I'm not going to be as helpful because I'm not as malleable with certain things in my processes. I have a kind of like ways that I do things and they're not changing. So that was also a good clarification to kind of see like, okay, this is, I could be helpful here, but maybe not so much over here since it's already in process. So, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I can still help with a lot of things, even if it's not everything. So yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone here and yeah, looking forward to seeing y'all next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for hanging in, with everything that's going on, with the rest of your life. Ty or Carlos?
I'll jump in if that's okay. I today have felt a little bit like flat, little flat line, little numb. And I really appreciated in this meeting feeling more engaged. And I heard something new from each of you, something I haven't heard before, some connection, some idea. So thank you, each of you, for that. That's like turn on for my brain. So thank you. I look forward to the next time.
It's awesome.
Yeah, well, for me, it's, I mean, even if it's like, it's going to probably sound weird, but even if it's been like, it's been what, 3 weeks since I joined, I can already see like a trend of um, growing participation and momentum. And I'm really excited about that. Like, I think my checkout will be that it is 1:10 a.m. here, and I am so energized that I have no idea how I'm gonna go to sleep right now. But yeah, thank you all for this call, and like, yeah, let's keep going.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna jump off. Bye, everybody. Take care.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Take care. Sleep well when we can get to sleep.
Thank
And
you.
Okay.
I'll be in touch soon.
All right, bye.
Bye.